Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Objective, broadcasting out of the Ayn Rand Center, UK. That stands for United Kingdom, if you're American and didn't know. Now, today is a big day in America and therefore the world. It's the presidential debate coming up. I guess it's going to be pretty late at night for you European folks. But here in America, it's like the Super Bowl. We're excited. We got the chicken wings. We got the chips and salsa. We're excited. It's a big day. Now, I don't know what to expect. I mean, the world today is not the same place as it was the last time there was a presidential debate. It's not even the same place it was when Democrats were debating amongst each other earlier this year. I wonder if the presidential candidates know what to expect, and I wonder if their staff is advising them on what the heck to say. Here to help us understand the upcoming debate, what to expect and how to think about it, we've got a guy who, let's just say, here in America, we don't have much to say about Greek politics. We don't even have that much to say about British politics, speaking of the UK. For all I know, right now, the Prime Minister is debating the Queen. But in America, we frankly don't care. However, Nikos Sotirakopoulos has a lot to say about our politics. So please welcome Nikos Sotirakopoulos.
Yeah, because, we Greeks always had universal aspirations. So first, it's interesting to talk about debates themselves and how they have changed. So I've been watching debates for 24 years. So the first debate I remember, 96, and it was the socialist candidate in Greece versus the center-right candidate. And as you said, it was like, I remember the enthusiasm at how it was like football. So we went to a friend's house as a family. Everyone was for the socialist, the center-left party. And I remember the first scene. So both candidates were a bit goofy. We were away from the charismatic candidates. And in the first scene, it was like the right-wing candidate was like, he didn't know how to stand in front of the camera, whereas the left-wing candidate, the center-left candidate was like serious professor-like, and everyone said, our guy got the first point. So back then, debates were very boring. So it was not a dialogue. It was parallel monologues. And the main thing was make sure you don't screw up. So make sure you don't say something completely stupid. Make sure you don't do something which people are going to remember. And it's interesting how this has changed. So it's interesting if you remember, for example, the 2016 debates, and we're going to talk a bit more about them, how before the 2016 there were the highlights of a debate was, for example, where one candidate would stand relatively close to the other and enter his personal space and would remember that, or when I think it was Bush checked the time on his watch, like, oh my god, this is what. And with Trump and Hillary, after the first 3 minutes of the debate, there were more stuff that had overshadowed all the previous debates. So here are some questions I'm throwing on the table for you. A, do you think there are people who are actually watching the debate and saying, oh, this is going to determine who I'll vote? Or I'm not sure, but this might change my mind. That's the one question. And the other question is, do you think that the stuff that debates have become more like this mud fight that we saw in 2016 is in a way more real? We see the real thing. We see who these people real are, and we went away from this, very uptight, serious discussion. Or is it part of the whole infantilizing of politics and taking away, not infantilizing, but politics becoming less and less of a serious business, but becoming more and more of, in a way, continuation of the culture wars. So instead of trolling each other on Twitter, they kind of had this mad fight on stage.
Good questions. There's one of my famous good question responses, followed by silence. Yeah, your first question was, are undecided voters going to watch this? And I mean, there must be a lot of undecided voters, because as someone who wants them both to lose, I can't decide which one I want to lose more. And it's going to trigger people. I think I'd rather Trump lose more than I'd rather Biden lose, because Trump needs to go. This is not heading in a positive direction, folks. Biden is a devil we know. He's a devil we know. Trump is taking Republicans down a path that Anakin Skywalker once took the Jedis. And or the Senate or whatever he did. Okay. And your other question was, is this more real or is it a catastrophe? Like, I mean, it is real. It is reflecting our culture. The question always is, to me, at what point do these theatrics replace the actual legal system? Because if you go into a courtroom, as corrupted as the legal process has become by sort of personalities and by sort of corrupt philosophy, it is still a place. A courtroom today is still a place where some things are sacred. It is still a place where the rule of law is referred to. It's not just, the two lawyers are not like two politicians just making fun of each other and then the jury are like voters. I mean, let's put jury aside. A judge is not like an undecided voter that just kind of is made to laugh. So we're not yet in the movie Idiocracy, I hope. But at what point do these theatrics actually replace rule of law? And at that point, all bets are off. At that point, we are 20th century Europe and expect blood to flow and heads to roll. But I mean, we're not there yet. I mean, for now, these theatrics are predominantly, just in electoral politics. But then once they get into office, there is sort of a legal process they need to follow. And in courtrooms, these things can be challenged and we can sue the government, and the government, sections of the government can sue one another, and they can go to court, and a judge and, Supreme Court judges, et cetera, other judges and lawyers, they do need to refer to rule of law. So that's the question. At what point will these theatrics literally just replace the legal system that we have in place? That's what worries me more than anything. But in terms of these theatrics, it's unhealthy. Look, I'm an entertainer, and an outrageous one. I love over-the-top entertainment. Believe me. Me and Trump, in another timeline, we could have worked together, and we are cut from the same cloth. But the difference is, some things are sacred to me, such as rule of law, such as the fact that I am not dictator, that I am not dictating reality, and I am not at discretion to rule over other men. But Trump, I fear, he does not see the distinction between entertainment and politics, that is, between entertainment and force. So well, God help us.
For the people who can't get it, let me remind them that, what you just hear from Rucka is not the official line of Objectivism or ARC UK. I'm not even sure that I agree unofficially with him, but that's what makes the show hopefully interesting. So I don't know. So let's think about this way, 2016, because I think there was this idea, and this is also relevant for this year's debates, that Trump would go in these debates like, what's the phrase, like a bull in a glass, you get the phrase, right?
Yeah, in a china shop or something.
Yes. So, but if you remember, that's not what happened. So in the first debate, Trump had either the flu or a cold. He was very low energy. Today, everyone would freak out that he has COVID. But anyway, he was low energy. And then in the last, and it was relatively civilized debate. And then literally in the last minute, Hillary Clinton, without Trump having the chance to reply, throws, oh, and by the way, Trump is a misogynist or something like that. He doesn't respect women. So see through the first stone. And then we had the second debate, which was almost difficult to watch. It was after this video with the revelations about Trump. They grabbed them, blah, 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 blah. So then the idea was Trump has probably lost, so he's going to throw a show. And that was the debate where, if you remember, he brought in the audience the women who had accused Bill Clinton. And that was, I think, more than one. So that was difficult to watch. You'd expect you could cut the tension with a knife, as they said. But then again, the third debate was more or less fine. So here's the thing, though. Trump has created this image for himself and also his fans, that he's this dominating figure in debates. And that started with the Republican primaries in 2016. But this puts also the bar really high for what is expected from him in the debate. So that's why we found the first debate in 2016 in a way boring. But here's why this makes the stakes for him tonight so high. Because everyone is expecting that he's going to destroy Biden. But actually for Biden, what will be a victory will be, let's be honest, not to completely mess things up, to be, not to make any of these, where he loses his train of thought and then it becomes a clip. If nothing of the kind happens, and also not to play up to this idea that, he's low energy or whatever. Again, we don't endorse these theories, but they're out there. I mean, let's be frank. Most conservatives today, that's why they're watching. That's what they expect from the debate. They're like, can this guy go through the 90 minutes in a coherent? And again, this might be completely unfair. This might be a fabrication, but it's out there. So if Biden has a good performance tonight, that's a victory for Biden. For Trump to win, he needs to completely demolish the opponent or the opponent to demolish himself. So you people don't watch football. It's the equivalent of the first game was, let's say, okay, people won't get it. It's like a second game in a second leg, but where the team needs to score, let's say, 3 goals and not to concede a goal to win.
Oh, well, we do watch.
That's what you call soccer, by the way.
Yeah, we do watch football. We don't watch soccer. I mean, yeah, there's a lot there. First of all, you ever watch these TV shows like Game of Thrones where you have all these key characters that they're like in separate timelines, they're in separate side stories, and then they finally meet? It's like, whoa, it's like so exciting. So that's kind of like Trump and Biden later. Not that Biden is that interesting. It would be more fun to watch Trump and Bernie finally meet face to face. But I mean, I think Bernie would win that debate just because he makes moral arguments and Trump doesn't even really speak that language. Although who knows what would sort of emerge from Trump, because he seems to be good at like finding the game and playing it hard. So I would actually be curious to watch that. All of this would be fun to watch if it didn't have real life consequences, if these people did not represent guns and military. Look, there's, by the way, I mean, in terms about like Trump bringing Bill Clinton's accusers to the debate and stuff like that, there's no question that, I mean, a lot of people could say, and rightfully so, that Trump is sort of playing the game that the media, the Democrats, the left have been playing for decades. And this is sort of like conservative strike back, or not even conservative, because Trump isn't really a conservative, really. He's just sort of like Republican strike back, or the right, the non-left strikes back. Something is striking back, and there's a certain gratuitous joy that it could bring people. But remember, like, Trump does not actually stand for any principles. He doesn't, I don't think he understands rule of law or care much to understand it. So we're not headed anywhere positive if the establishment is being hit with this bull in a china shop, as I think you said. So, I mean, when Ben Shapiro went on the Bill Maher show, that was kind of a gratifying thing to watch, where Bill Maher was talking about Trump like he's like destroying discourse, he's destroying respectful discourse, and Ben Shapiro reminded him that one election cycle ago, Biden, he's speaking to a black audience, said, "These Republicans will put you back in mother effing chains." So Shapiro was making the point, oh, Biden is out there, 8 years ago telling a black audience Republicans want to put you back in chains, but now Trump is the one who's destroyed politics. So someone can definitely make the case that Trump is just, and people said this about Breitbart and now his organization, now that he's not around, they're doing what the liberals did, but doing it more so, like they're doing it back. Fine, but what are you representing? Like, what's your positive value? I would ask Breitbart, I would ask Trump. And unfortunately, without principled individualism, without respect for objective reality, we're just seeing more collectivism, and this time on the guise of nationalism, of something like that, protectionism. I hate to even say moving towards fascism.
Yeah, I wouldn't use this term because, for me, it has a very specific political, but and I
Yeah,
get your
that's
point.
good. That's good that you're sensitive to terminology. You know, you don't let
Yeah,
us get away with throwing words around.
but before we get back to the depressing debate stuff, let me interject here a positive note, which is, so our life tonight. So I'm probably gonna sleep, wake up, watch the debate. So I'm already in a moody mood that there's one thing that is cheering me up. And this one thing that is cheering me up is not the debate, nor that Olympiacos is playing in 1.5 hours. Again, that's a soccer reference. People won't get it. It is, though, that in something like 10 minutes at 6:30 on the YouTube channel of Ayn Rand Center UK, we have the debut of a new, shall I call it, spectacle, series, if not event, something nice. So I would encourage people, get away to clear their mind a bit and get some inspiration and some positive, not positive energy in a mystic way, but something nice and inspiring. Check our channel at 6:30. Coming back to the mundane stuff. So from the many times that people have sent us emails or comments that we are cucks, obviously we're not big fans of Trump. That's why the Trump people think these things about us. However, I have to say that you said something very important, that the dirtiness of this election hasn't been initiated necessarily from Trump. And the same thing happened in the previous elections. Although this time they are playing, also the right is playing a bit more dirty, specifically with Biden and his health and stuff. But here are the 6 areas that they're going to discuss. And I want, let's say, a prediction who's gonna win. The first is Trump and Biden's records. And I think this is gonna be Trump's strongest point. So Trump is gonna be like, I can't do the accent, you will do the accent. Best economy ever, jobs, all the stuff. Biden, you've been around since the 70s or whatever, what have you done? So records, I think I give Trump. What do you think?
I mean, if this was taking place a year ago, I would say definitely Trump would basically say, look, the country's doing fine, the economy's doing fine, and we're doing better than ever, whatever he says. ISIS is defeated. A year ago, Trump would definitely run on his record. Now the
Peace
world
in the
is...
Middle East?
Yeah. I mean, I think, okay, so I guess today Trump he'll point to these peace agreements between Israel and whatever miscellaneous kingdom they had no beef with to begin with, that they're now officially at peace with. I guess that's his cause for celebration. So yeah, I guess he'll point to some of that. But also, the world is in such turmoil and uncertainty with the lockdown. Are we in lockdown? What's the deal? Is there a vaccine? Is there no vaccine? Black Lives Matter versus, rule of
that's
law.
a whole category of its own. Don't worry.
There's so much happening today. Like, this feels like it's like too soon for an election. Like, they should delay the election by a year. We'll see how all of these things pan out. But I think, it's been said that presidents tend to win re-election during wartime. That's why they're accused of starting wars in order to get elected.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted.
So, but maybe all this uncertainty will be good for Trump, because people, they don't want to switch leadership during all of this uncertainty.
Notice, though, that quite often this is propaganda by the left. For example, they say it about Thatcher, that she won re-election because of the Falklands War, which of course has nothing to do with reality. But anyway, sorry. The second point is the Supreme Court. And again, I think here is a second strong point for Trump. He's basically going to say, vote for me, otherwise I brought real change conservatives. What is the one thing you stand for? Because you don't support capitalism and you have no ideology. He's not going to say that, but we do. The culture wars. So I hit them where it hurts, with the Supreme Court. I gave you Kavanaugh, so 3 good nominations, you're going to say, and that's it. And I've tipped the balance. So I think the Supreme Court, which is going to be the second segment, I think point for Trump. Agreed?
Maybe. This is like the part of our culture, I don't really pay that close attention to. I guess a lot of voters care about the Supreme Court, maybe because of what it implies for abortion, which I guess is such a big deal to people. I don't get how anyone is worried about fetuses at a time like this, but I guess religion is serious business, philosophy is serious business, and that's what people are thinking about right now.
Yeah, look, there's no time to discuss abortion now, but
Yeah.
it is an important topic. So I think this will also be important for Trump. Now, the third one is the most unpredictable, and it is COVID-19. So I think that was the biggest own goal by Trump, because he could just say, look, that's not the president's job. However, from the beginning, being Trump, he went forward, it's going to go away. It's not going to be anything. So I think Biden could hit him there. But here's the risk. If Biden appears, so Trump is trying to portray Biden as the lockdown candidate. So if Biden pushes a bit too far and becomes part of the crazy people who want to keep us in lockdown indefinitely, because, by the way, the economy is going to be destroyed, they're going to bring socialism, that's going to be Trump's line. So COVID, I think it's going to be maybe some good point for Biden, but it's a challenge territory.
Sorry, I was distracted. I was reading the comments under the video that the Supreme Court issue, it's not about abortion, it has to do with the Constitution. Look, I mean, whatever I said a minute ago, I was just speaking off the top of my head. I was basically saying I don't know that much. I don't pay that close attention to that. Maybe the Supreme Court issue is a deciding factor for some voters. I apologize for tuning you out while you were speaking so charismatically. Can you repeat the question?
No, it was about COVID, and I said, look, that it's a double-edged sword, because Biden wants to point that Trump messed up, but also Biden can push it too far and then appear as the lockdown crazy candidate.
I mean, it's, again, like, the election is coming too soon. Like, I don't know yet. A lot of people don't yet know what to make of the pandemic, of the lockdown, and it sort of ties into the protests. Like, Trump says these are Biden's people protesting, but meanwhile they're protesting under Trump as president. So what's Trump going to say? That, vote for Biden for more of this, but Trump's already president. And then Biden's been tweeting, and justifiably so, that all of this is happening on Trump's watch.
That's point number 4, though. Number 5. Yeah,
I mean, I think maybe what you were saying earlier is that, like, Biden needs to just not look crazy. Were you kind of making that point? If Biden can just seem like the adult in the room, I think he's gold. I think that's the best thing he can do, is not talk about children and not grope anyone. Like, if Biden can check those 2 things off his list, he might win the debate.
Yeah, for the record, by the way, I have to say that the whole, Biden is creepy thing, I think it's a bit unfair to him, but anyway.
Wow,
that's,
okay, there you go.
That's
Europeans, yeah, I've heard about you Greeks.
We are more,
No,
but anyway.
I mean, I think there's a kernel of what you're saying that I agree with, which is just that, like, old men from Delaware they like to hug and kiss, and people are weird. There's a lot of weird stuff. And, well, the internet has sort of brought those things about. It's
yeah, that's the thing, exactly. It's like we think Biden, the guy who sniffs here. Come on.
Yeah, and not only that, but also jokes. So, like, people 10 years ago, Shane Dawson was joking about pedophilia, a bunch of things, and now 10 years later, it's all being highlighted, and his career is up in shambles. Anyway, back to
okay, point number 4. So let's make sure we hit them within a minute. The economy. I think that's going to be Trump's strongest point. Through his record, is going to bring the tax cuts, and he's going to say this guy is going to bring. He has a crazy socialist behind. So I think the economy is a clear victory for Trump. No.
Maybe. Yes. I mean, you're asking the wrong person. Like, I'm more focused on the culture war. What does it all mean for a police?
Okay, then we go to point number 5, race and violence in the U.S.
There we
cities.
Go. Now we're talking.
I think that's going to be the most difficult to decide where it goes, because in a way it's Trump's strong point, that look what these crazy leftists are sanctioning, but also Biden's going to say, no, this is your America. So what do you think where do you think this is going to play?
It's a good question because the Democrats, they've been, I think, the party of morality for a long time. Like, they speak about we need to help the poor, whereas what can conservatives, what have they said back? Well, we'll help more poor people by letting rich people get richer. I mean, it's true, but that doesn't really tug at people's heartstrings the same way. So the Democrats, they've long been the party of the underdog. We've only got a minute left, by the way, so we can premiere the white screen video right after we're done here. But the Democrats, they've been the party of morality for a long time. And now the moral position to have is that the police are evil and that black people are living under a Holocaust. That is the official, moral doctrine of the establishment today. So Biden needs to basically embrace that, or he needs to reject it. It's like, how exactly does he toe that line is the question. Whereas Trump, he's a populist. He could just speak to the average Joe out there and say, this is ridiculous. They're burning down the city. Get back to the American way. America, make America great again. So Trump sort of has the upper leg when the official moral stance to have is at odds with what people are feeling these days.
And the last point, which we don't have time to discuss, is the integrity of the election. I think the mere fact that this is an issue in the debate tells you all you need to know. Anyway, people, enough with the darkness of the election, with all that stuff. So for the first time, we're going to tell you not to watch us. We're going to tell you to switch off the show, which is going to end anyway in 10 seconds, and go to ARC UK's YouTube channel.
YouTube now.
Now, literally
it's
now.
It's clearing now. Go, 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 go. Move, 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 move.